Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's second video, it'll take us to around the 10th of April. We'll also be able to extend out beyond that though with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles. They run to around a couple of weeks. I have a look at CFSV2 for the next month at the end of the video. Going to start off though with the Arctic Oscillation and North Atlantic Oscillations. So this is the AO observed and forecast chart. The black line here shows where we've been with the Arctic Oscillation. The red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the Arctic Oscillation to go. Remember, this is just an index that's reflecting the state of the atmosphere over the North Pole. It's not driving anything, it just shows what the atmospheric state is doing, what it has been doing, and what the GFS ensembles are forecasting it to do over the next couple of weeks. So at the moment, the Arctic Oscillation is in a very positive phase. We went positive with the AO back into February. So this tells us we've had low pressure dominating over the North Pole since February. But it's on the move and it's downhill all the way really as we go into the start of April. You see that we're going to be trending down very much into negative territory with the Arctic Oscillation once again. And we're going to keep, if the GFS ensembles are right anyway, we're going to keep the Arctic Oscillation in negative territory moving out into the middle of April. So it does look as though we're going into quite an extended period of negativity of the Arctic Oscillation. This shows that high pressure is going to be coming back and blocking within the northern latitudes. And you're going to see more about that very shortly, because it looks like high pressure will be building up over Scandinavia towards the end of this week. And that would be enough to push the Arctic Oscillation down into negative territory. At the same time, it looks as though the North Atlantic Oscillation is on the move, a little bit less convincingly so compared to the AO, but it does look as though things are changing a bit here. So again, the black line shows where we've been with the NAO. Red lines at the end where the GFS ensembles are forecasting NAO to go. As we begin April, that's where we are, still very positive with the NAO, as we have been pretty much since the start of the winter of 2018-19. The next week keeps the NAO in positive territory as well. But as we move into the second week of April, that period just there, it does look as though we are increasingly moving the North Atlantic Oscillation down in towards negative territory. Now, it's not as convincingly negative as the Arctic Oscillation is. And it may not last all that long. We do see by the very end there that there's just a few signs that the NAO is beginning to tick back up as well. So it could finish up looking like one of these sort of very brief periods of negativity. We had that around New Year, and then again a little bit there, I suppose, second half of February. Just a day or two of negativity of the NAO and then back into positive territory again. So I'm a bit less convinced about a fundamental change in the NAO. But it does look as though the AO is shifting quite a lot. That's a big shift going on with the forecast for the Arctic Oscillation. The NAO is on the move down towards negative territory, but it's a little bit less convincing, so we need to wait and see what's going to happen there. These are the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts from the Penn State University. We've got for the next week to 10 days, we've got the ECMWF on the top, the GFS is on the bottom. 500 millibars is an area in the atmosphere. High pressure, low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream. Red extrapolates high pressure, blue to low pressure. These are the mean flow charts for the next week to 10 days. So it takes us to the 10th of April. We find that we have this big blocking area of high pressure with the ECMWF sitting to the north of the UK and the northeast. Low pressure with this blue area just here out in the Atlantic being blocked by this large blocking feature, and the wind would be coming in from an easterly direction as well. Now with that level of blocking, that is of course going to be enough to push the Arctic Oscillation into negative territory, always weather driving the index. So that's why we're seeing that plummet in the Arctic Oscillation forecast for the next couple of weeks. Is that big blocking feature that's setting up to the north of the UK and across northern Europe. The GFS showing that as well. So again, we've got this trough of below average heights in the Atlantic and also going down towards Bay of Biscay and Iberia. But for us, it's actually the blocking area of high pressure that's dominating big area of above average heights, high pressure sitting in the northern UK. Again, that will be bringing in easterly to possibly slightly southeasterly winds. It's not going to be particularly cold with these easterly winds, though. We have lost a lot of the cold air across northern Europe that we would have had if this pattern had set up like 4 or 6 weeks ago. So most of that cold air has been lost. It will be chilly on the east coast in particular. Out in west, probably not too bad. Actually, you get some sunshine, easterly winds, and it's not a bad direction for western parts of the country in April. Will probably be quite pleasant there. The main thing, though, is that we're probably going to go back to fairly dry conditions after an unsettled start to April. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles. We're in London today. The red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London. We're starting off milder than average at the moment. Going to go cold and average in the next few days. That's associated with this cold snap that's coming up through this week. So there is a risk of some snow with that, particularly in the north. Have a look at Snow Watch, see where those snow risks are. By the end of the week into weekend, temperatures starting to lift back up again. So this cold snap doesn't last all that long. It looks as though as we go into next week, we're going to be generally close to, or possibly a little bit milder than average. So although the wind is turning into the east, it's not going to be particularly cold. Easterlies in April will generally be warmer than northerlies. Our coldest wind direction from now onwards really is going to be northerly. That's what we've got coming up in the next few days. Precipitation-wise, so with this dropping temperature, we also have some precipitation coming up. There will be some rain around and up in the north. There's a snow risk as well. Beyond that, relatively dry really, I think, through the second week of April and going up to the middle of the month. It does look as though it's relatively dry. There are precipitation spikes there, of course, but also overall it's certainly not overly wet first half to April. Temperature anomalies, colder than average. It's from the 1st through to the 9th of April, and we're below average in the UK and across Ireland too, and across much of Western Europe actually. France, Spain, Portugal, all parts of Western Europe really coming out colder than average in the week ahead, and it's warmer than average over on the eastern side of Europe. Precipitation wise, looking like this. So for central and northern parts of the country, a little bit above average with precipitation. Down in the south, a little bit drier than average still. It's not a big deviation either way though, so not too far from average. This is how the GFS 6 o'clock operational run is looking for Thursday. So we've got low pressure sitting over the top of the country on Thursday. It's moved in from the North Sea, and we're within cold air as well, so there is potential for some snow in the north in the middle part of the week. The low pressure increasingly moving away to west and south as we go through to the weekend. High pressure, you'll notice, building up over Scandinavia. Winds are turning into the east. That's probably going to drag in a lot of cloud from the east, but temperatures won't be particularly cold. Actually, it will be quite mild in the west. Probably chilly though in the east, where we bring the air in from off that cold North Sea. Now into next week, we keep this high pressure blocking to our north, so a big ridge from Scandinavia over towards Greenland. Low pressure is underneath it, but it's not a particularly deep area of low pressure. There's not a huge amount of energy available in the atmosphere at this time of the year to generate big areas of low pressure underneath blocking features, unless there's some sort of temperature contrast. So it probably just looks like quite showery conditions there, and maybe a fair amount of cloud through to the early part of next week. Getting up towards day 10, so low pressure is cut off to our south, high pressure is to the north, wind is still coming in from an easterly direction, and into the extended range, we keep this high pressure dominating actually to our north, so you will expect quite a lot of dry weather with this, but wettest conditions may be in the south and southeast. If we generate little areas of low pressure across France, they might bring some showery rain into the south and southeast, but overall this is a pretty dry pattern. The Atlantic is blocked off, so back to pretty dry conditions. And that's how we finish up with the 6 o'clock operational GFS run on Wednesday the 17th of April, beginning to move up towards Easter, of course, and Easter updates at GasWeathers will be starting shortly. I think Easter will be in the full Easter weekend, will be into the time frame of the GFS model by the weekend, by this coming weekend. So Easter weekend updates will begin very shortly now at GasWeathers. That's how we finish up though with this GFS run on Wednesday the 17th of April. And high pressure is still there, sitting just to our east-northeast. The wind continues in from the east. Suffice to say, if this had happened in January, we would have had a prolonged spell of really cold weather. But of course, it's April. We've lost that pool of cold air to our north and northeast. At least we've lost most of it, and so it's not going to be particularly cold with these east winds. We always get easterly winds in the spring. Spring is our most easterly month, season I should say, and particularly April and May are our most easterly months. The reason for that is really because we're losing the contrasting temperature between the pole and the tropics. So in winter, one of the reasons anyway, we get cyclogenesis, we get low pressure, and we favour westerly winds and a strengthened zonal flow, is that you very much have a strong temperature contrast between the freezing cold North Pole and the warm tropics, and of course we're in the middle of that temperature contrast, and so we fuel these areas of low pressure and the polar vortex. At this time of year, the polar vortex is weakening. We're losing the temperature contrast between the tropics and the poles, and so very often, but most years, you can guarantee a spell of extended easterly winds either in April or May, particularly May actually, but it can last through both months. So we always get a spell of easterlies during the spring. Typically, we will return to the westerlies in June. You get a return of westerlies in June, and it goes more unsettled for time anyway. Doesn't always happen though. It didn't happen last year, for example. And when you don't get a return of the westerlies in June, that tends to be when we get our hottest summers, of course. And then we go through to a parallel GFS run. So again, we've got low pressure sitting over country on Thursday, having cold air, so wintry showers and pretty chilly feel through the middle part of the week. Then the low pressure gets out of the way to our south, and this high pressure over Scandinavia takes over, brings in the wind from the east. And then we keep these easterly winds going into next week as well, with high pressure continuing to sit to our north and northeast. Low pressure is out to west. So that's how we look at day 10. Low pressure is being blocked off in the Atlantic by this high pressure sitting to our east and northeast. In the more extended range, we keep high pressure close to us, generally to the north. Excuse me. The winds continue to be coming around the edge of that high pressure from an east or northeasterly direction. In the more extended range, moving up towards Easter, we start to retrogress this high pressure towards Greenland. So that might be setting up a bit of a northerly there at the very end of a parallel GFS run. But of course, that's a long way off. It's over 2 weeks away. And then the ECMWF looking rather cold, rather wintry through the middle part of the week. The low pressure gets out of the way, sinks away to the south of us over the weekend. High pressure takes over across Scandinavia, turns the winds into the east. Probably these easterly winds will drag in a lot of cloud, at least initially, particularly for central eastern parts of the country. Heading up towards day 10, we just keep this area of high pressure going over and to the east and northeast of the country. Again, we're bringing in the wind from an easterly direction, but it won't be particularly cold. So reverting after an unsettled and showery start to April, reverting to pretty dry weather and temperatures becoming relatively mild, albeit there could be quite a bit of cloud associated with these east winds. Looking at the ECM ensembles, these are the options that are on the table at day 10 via the postage stamps at the Icelandic Met Office. So this is for the 11th of April. We've got all members of the ECM ensembles, 51, which is 100% of ECM ensemble members. And it includes the control and operational ECM runs have high pressure sitting to the north and northeast of the country, which will be bringing the wind in from the east. So really strong agreement for high pressure to be blocking to the north and northeast of the UK by day 10, feeding in those easterly winds. As we look ahead towards 2 weeks away, we go to 360 hours away, which is the 16th of April. Signs of retrogression of the high pressure. So by then we have got 51, 100% of ECM ensemble members, 51 out of 51, taking the high pressure to Greenland. And that will be bringing in the wind from more of a north to northeasterly direction. So going towards the middle of April. Does look as though the ECM, anyway, wants to take this high pressure towards Greenland, possibly set up some northerlies, and that will be a colder spell for the middle of the month. I say northerlies in April will nearly always be colder than easterlies. We should wait and see about that. It's a long way away. It's 2 weeks away. It's a long way away to be talking about retrogression of high pressure from Scandinavia to Greenland, but we should wait and see. Finally, the CFS V2 for the next month. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down into weekly periods. The first weekly period will take us from the 1st to the 7th of April. The coming week is cold and showery with below average heights extending through the UK and Western Europe too. Jet streams like that. So on the cold side of the jet, we've got a trough of low pressure. It looks pretty unsettled and quite cold as well. All change though for week 2. This is the 8th to the 14th of April. With high pressure then in over Scandinavia, feeding in an easterly to southeasterly winds, so obviously much drier. We've replaced high pressure for we've replaced low pressure for high pressure, I should say, and we're bringing in the wind from an east to southeasterly direction. So you would expect it to be pretty dry and relatively mild, especially so for western parts of the country. Week 3 is the 15th to the 21st of April. The high pressure is still there over Scandinavia, but low pressure is coming in from off the Atlantic, just pushing that high pressure back a little bit. So that's a slightly more unsettled week there for the 3rd week of April, and a little bit milder too with that one. Actually, potentially very mild as the wind is being brought up from a southerly type direction. And then we finish up in week 4, which is the 22nd to 28th of April. High pressure still over Scandinavia, and if anything, it's starting to bring those east to southeasterly winds back again. So it's turning drier, and I would have thought pretty warm as well, as the air is being brought up from southern Europe. A relatively mild but pretty dry April on the way, with high pressure consistently sitting to our east and northeast if this is right. Always very speculative though with these longer range model outputs. Finally, if you are enjoying the videos at the moment, please can you consider becoming a patron for Gaz Weather. So we've got 58 patrons so far, and if you would like to sign up and become a patron of Gaz Weather and support Gaz Weather, then all you need to do is come to the Gaz Weather Patreon page. You sign up for a Patreon account, and you can give us an ongoing monthly donation. It can be anything as little as $1 a month upwards. You'll sort of go in with everybody else, and you will get a shout out in videos. We'll say thank you so much for becoming a patron for Gaz Weather. So big thank you to all of Gaz Weather's patrons. Thanks so much for your support for the website. Alternatively, you can give a one-off donation through PayPal. This is the Gaz Weather's PayPal page. So you just come here, sign up for a PayPal account, or sign into your PayPal account, and you can send a one-off donation to Gaz Weather's. You're helping us to pay for the website. You're helping us to keep content online. We're primarily ads funded and will be remaining so. We're not going behind paywalls or anything like that. It's just an added extra revenue stream, and whether you become a patron or whether you become a donor, you will be getting a mention in the videos, unless you'd rather stay anonymous. If you would, then just leave a little note with your donation to tell us that you'd rather not have a mention. Of course, you might want to mention for your business or for your website. We're very happy to do that. It's whatever you want. Just leave a little note with your donation to tell us how you'd like the mention to be sort of formatted within the video, and we're very happy to do that as well. So big thank you to our patrons, big thank you to all of the donors for Gaz Weather. Right, so that's it for your videos today. Don't forget to check out Snowwatch if you haven't yet seen it. It's very late to be doing Snowwatch, 1st of April, but there we go. You never know what's around the corner with the weather. As I say, weather is always looking to find ways to catch us out and surprise us, and there will be some snow around in the next few days, particularly so in the north. So do check out Snowwatch when we sign off on this video in a moment. Tonight we've got Tony Scully's April forecast coming up for you. That's going to be an interesting read. Tomorrow again will be another week to 10-day video update, and we'll start off with the ECMWF 30-day look ahead from the Hungarian Met Office. But at nearly 20 minutes, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.